Welcome in, everyone. Today, we're going to unravel one of the coolest puzzles in all of nature. It's the story about a hidden force, something that connects everything, from the biggest, baddest predator all the way down to the mud in a riverbed. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Okay, so our story kicks off with something that honestly sounds totally unbelievable. It's an observation that just seems to defy all logic. We're talking about a connection between a single animal and the actual shape of the land itself. No, seriously, just stop and think about that. A wolf, an animal that lives on land, right? It can't dig trenches or move giant rocks. So how in the world could it physically change the course of a river? It sounds completely made up, like something out of a legend. But here's the thing, it's not made up. It's a real-life ecological mystery, a kind of detective story. And I promise, by the end of this, you're gonna understand exactly how it happened. It's just this perfect example of how deeply connected everything in nature really is. All right, so let's do this. Let's put on our detective hats and just follow the clues. We're gonna trace this whole chain of events, like one domino falling after another, to figure out this whole wolf and river mystery. So you gotta know, for about 70 years, there were no wolves in Yellowstone, none. But then, back in 1995, they were brought back. And this is key. They're the top predator, the apex. They're at the very, very top of the food chain with nothing hunting them. And their return, well, that's what kicked this whole thing off. Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. It's not as simple as you might think. Yeah, sure, the wolves hunted elk, so the elk population went down. Obvious, right? But the real game changer, the bigger deal, was the introduction of, well, fear. The elk suddenly had to be afraid again. They got stressed. They were constantly looking over their shoulders, always on the move. So what does that fear actually do? Well, it's pretty straightforward. The elk figured out pretty quick that hanging out in wide open valleys and gorges was a terrible idea. I mean, those are perfect ambush spots for a wolf pack. So they just stopped going there. They started sticking to the forests, places that were way harder for wolves to hunt in. And because the elk weren't in the valleys anymore, something amazing started to happen. All those little saplings, the young trees the elk used to just graze down to nothing, they finally had a chance to grow. And I mean, really grow. For the first time in decades, the riverbanks just exploded with new willows and aspens and cottonwoods. These lush little forests started popping up. And you know what happens when you get trees, right? Other life shows up. The new forests became brand new homes. Songbirds that hadn't been seen in years started coming back. And this is a huge piece of the puzzle. So did the beavers. Why? Because beavers love to eat the exact kind of trees that were suddenly growing everywhere. Now, beavers are super cool. We call them ecosystem engineers. And that's because they don't just, live somewhere. They totally redesign the place. They build dams, which creates all these new ponds and marshlands. And suddenly, you've got brand new homes for otters, muskrats, ducks, fish, the whole gang. And this is it. This is the solution to the mystery. All those new trees along the river, their roots acted like a net, holding the riverbanks together, making them stronger. So there was way less erosion. The rivers actually started to narrow, they meandered less, and their channels became more stable. So think about it. The wolves changed the elk's behavior, which let the trees grow, which brought back the beavers, which literally changed the shape of the rivers. What an incredible chain reaction. So this incredible story from Yellowstone, it's not just some cool one-off thing. It's actually a perfect textbook example of a huge idea in ecology. And yeah, of course, scientists have a name for it. It's called a trophic cascade. Let's break that down. Trophic just means related to the food chain, who eats who. And cascade, well, it's like a waterfall. The effects of the wolves literally cascaded down from the top predator level, through the elk, down to the plants, and kept going all the way to the river itself. So, a trophic cascade is what we call top-down control. Think of it like the CEO of a company. The predator at the top is making all the big decisions that affect everyone below. The opposite of that is bottom-up control. That's where the resources, like the amount of grass or nutrients in the soil, are in charge. They decide how many animals the ecosystem can even support. In our Yellowstone story, it's super clear. The wolves were the CEOs. They were running the show. And get this. This isn't just a wolf thing or a Yellowstone thing. This powerful force is at play all over the world. We see it in the deepest jungles. We see it in the middle of the ocean. It's everywhere.
Take the Amazon, for instance. Jaguars are doing the same job as the wolves. They keep other animal populations in check, which protects the trees. In Ecuador, scientists have seen how crucial top predators are for holding the entire community together. And the flip side is true too. In the oceans, where we've overfished sharks, we've seen a total mess. Their prey populations just explode, and they end up destroying entire reefs.
So here's the bottom line, the really crucial takeaway. These top predators, they're not just another animal on the list. They're what we call keystone species or regulators. They're the linchpin holding the whole thing together. If you pull them out, it's not like you're just losing one animal. You risk the entire system unraveling and collapsing. And this brings us to a final and honestly a much trickier question. Because let's be real, most of the time, we're the ones who got rid of these top predators. So what does that mean for us? What's our role in all this? I mean, the Yellowstone story is amazing, but it was a deliberate human intervention, right? We put the wolves back. So what's the right call? Should we be actively intervening, making it our top priority to protect these key species, even when it gets messy and complicated? Or should we just step back and let nature take its course, even if we were the ones who messed it up to begin with? There really is no simple answer here. But what this story shows us, what understanding a trophic cascade really tells us, is exactly how much is at stake.